Hi, I'm Bert Nussbaumer from macrobeat.co.uk. Well, all about the election, obviously, this week. We still don't have a winner, which probably isn't a surprise either. Even, the polls obviously now leaning towards a Biden win, and it's pretty much looks the way it's going to be. President Trump obviously still hasn't conceded, which in itself is a little bit of a problem. Obviously, we now wait until Mr. Biden hits a 270 count, which would make him obviously the winner of the election, to see what actually Mr. Trump is planning. Reality is, it looks like it's going to be court cases as far as the Supreme Court, so we might really not know, about the winner for some time to come. The pre-election, was interesting. So obviously the market has been rallying in equities, has been rallying in FX risk, all on the back of the blue wave or anticipated blue wave that we might get. Obviously, the market then figured out in election night that it's not going to be a blue wave, so we had quite a bit of a shake-up, sell-off in equities, a sharp rally, especially in dollar CNH, dollar MAX, which were the sort of main beneficial of the blue wave that sort of reverted. But funny enough, the next day, and ever since, we rally in equities every single day. Suddenly, the market changed its tune towards a Biden presidency, and the Republican Senate would mean you get less regulation and you get a lot of stimulus. So the market just tweaks the story its way as it sort of happens. To me, it just seems like after the large rally we had in equities, it starts to be borderline insanity. Reality is we have an election that could go down to the courts. We have very tense situation on the streets in the US. Obviously, both camps started to get restless about the current situation. So I think it's a little bit, how should I say, not very forward-looking and not very sort of risk management-ish in terms of what the market is doing. So I think the market should be stepping back a little bit. Realities as well, even though we forgot about COVID for a week, we just hit 100,000 cases in one day in the US. So as soon as this sort of election frenzy is sort of running out of steam, we'll be faced with the reality again. And we saw that last week when the equity market dropped quite sharply on the sort of increase in COVID cases for the second wave. So I just wish for the equity guys that the feeding frenzy isn't really ending in a food poisoning. But let's go over the charts that I have for you today. The first one is the DXY. We sort of dropped 2% now in this sort of run up to the election, as well as the sort of few days post-election. We're just testing that sort of pivot at 92.50. Break would lead us to the really big level, the 91.90 area. And if that goes, then the dollar is in deep trouble. But I really don't expect this to happen at this point. On the next slide, this is dollar CNH. We tested a very large level now in the last few days, several times 660. A break here would really shift the entire dollar focus. Obviously, dollar CNH is the one that the market feels that the CNH benefits the most with the presidency from Biden to sort of restore relationships with China. And obviously, that's where part of the frenzy is coming from. We sort of rallied now around 9% in the CNH since the peak in June, and I think the PBOC will start to get a little bit nervous. Watch 660, a break here would be very significant. On the next chart, we have dollar MAX. Obviously, MAX is another big beneficiary, or at least the market thinks so, in terms of a Biden presidency. MAX has now rallied about 9.5% since that sort of early, or late September, early October levels. So this is really all the sort of blue wave Biden presidency area. And as you can see, we're still pretty much on track to head lower here. Last but not least, the Dow, massive 7% rally off the lows from last week, getting up to these higher areas again, which is probably, in my opinion, just too much in a just too short of a time, especially given the US elections aren't really sorted and could really turn nasty at any given time. So to me, this is danger territory up here, and I wouldn't be surprised for equities to start drifting lower again next week. This is pretty much it for me. Let's see if we have a president next week when I speak to you. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.